Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Jig Retro, where we're going to be taking a look at a few Sega Megadrive games that are budget friendly to kick off your Sega Megadrive collection. Despite retro video game prices being at an all-time high, I have scoured the entire Sega Megadrive library to bring you 7 games that are absolute quality that won't break the bank. If you enjoy this kind of content, then please take a moment out of your time right now to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you get the time, possibly share it with like-minded video gamers. Or if you don't like the content, share it with people you hate. So for this list, I've decided to go for at least boxed Sega Megadrive games because that plastic clamshell design has well outlasted the crummy cardboard of the Super Nintendo. These things are really retro video game collector friendly. They look fantastic on the shelf and they're very easy to come by in great condition thanks to these tough cases. Therefore, in comparison to the Super Nintendo, as we mentioned earlier, boxed games are much cheaper in comparison and much more accessible for us mere mortals. So these are 7 Megadrive games that price range between £10 and £15 that I recommend for a great but frugal Sega Megadrive collection. Even if you purchased everything in this list, then you would still fall under £100. This first one on this list is actually a total cheat and completely depends on if you have any other systems in your retro video game collection, and that's that it's one of the countless Sega Megadrive collections that you can get on all sorts of consoles such as the PSP, the PS2, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3 and even modern consoles like the Nintendo Switch and the PS4. I think that the best value one is probably the Xbox 360 version, which I have seen for as little as £5, and it has one of the bigger libraries of games, but any that you have access to will be more than suitable. At very least, you are likely to get such classics as Altered Beast, Comic Zone, Decap Attack, Echo the Dolphin 1 and 2, Golden Axe Trilogy, Shinobi 3, Sonic 1 and 2, Phantasy Star and Vector Man. These titles increase with later releases of the collection, most notably including the Streets of Rage trilogy. As you can probably tell, this collection is a bit of a no-brainer. By far the cheapest way to get a huge selection of Megadrive games. Not only that, but it's the cheapest game on this list. The next game is also a compilation, but this time for the original Megadrive hardware, and that is Mega Game 6. Now, it's also the most expensive game on this list at about £18, but I think that it's totally worth it in the sum of its parts. And I feel that this is probably one of the best of all of the Mega games released, as it has World Cup Italia 90, Super Hang-On, and Columns on the slightly lower end of quality titles, but the masterpieces that are Golden Axe, Revenge of Shinobi and Streets of Rage. I mean, price wise, Revenge of Shinobi on its own will cost you a similar amount to this collection, so all the other games are really just a bonus. Now for the first actual Sega Megadrive game for this list, and that is Flashback. This will set you back about £8, and this game made it to the tippity top of my top 10 favourite Sega Megadrive games video. This is a groundbreaking for the time cinematic action platformer. I feel that despite it getting ports on other systems, this release will always have a special place in my heart. Certainly better than the SNES version with its odd censorship choices and odd slowdown here and there. The cinematic story and fluid, realistic movement of the main sprite Conrad really blew me away at the time. and to this day, every now and then I have to give it another playthrough. Micro Machines 2 for around £10. This is a thrilling and accessible racing title that you can't help but get into in 2 or even 4 player. Although my personal nostalgia leans slightly towards the first game in the series, I think for what is basically the same price, you do get a lot more bang for your buck with this game. More tracks, more vehicles, and the awesome design J cartridge, which is definitely worth seeking out for your money, with the extra 2 control ports built in. Probably the best racing game on the system in my opinion, especially in multiplayer. You will be laughing and hollering at the screen in no time with this one. Nice bit of trivia for us lot in the UK is that Violet Berlin from Bad Influence, which is the second best video game TV show at the time behind Games Master, is a playable character in the game. Next on this list is really multiple choice. I wanted to put a Disney title in here, but you know what, I just couldn't choose as there is a lot at about all the same price range. So I say just go with your gut. Quackshot for a more non-linear adventure style game, World of Illusion to playing co-op with a partner or kids, Castle of Illusion just for some old school platforming perfection, or Aladdin for the absolutely stunning graphics and art direction that feels like you are literally playing the movie. They are all about the same price at £12, so go with your own preference or nostalgia on this one. If you don't mind spending a few extra pounds more, then I know that Quackshot and Castle of Illusion were released as a double pack on the same cart, so that is probably what I would go with. The next game on this list is the Capcom arcade classic Strider for around £12. This early release on the console was absolutely mind-blowing at the time. You would be hard pressed to notice much difference between this release and the arcade version just 1 year before. Highly playable, short but challenging game with stunning set pieces, and the main character's acrobatic movements and impenetrative sword slashes just feel as great today as they did when it was first released. Even the soundtrack to this one just fits, non-stop action. Finally on this list I have put Road Rash 2 for around £12. Similar to Micro Machines, my nostalgia means that I can't help but prefer the original Road Rash. But I feel that in terms of what this game adds, such as more weapons, the ability to actually brawl with cops, and the 2-player split screen, then this one probably has a better value for money. On a slight negative, I personally find that the difficulty spike comes a lot sooner with this one than the original game, so be a bit wary of that. The original game is a similar price really, so if you are okay with missing out on the new elements that come with the sequel, then I say go with that one. Finally, before signing out, I've got 3 more honourable mentions for you that if you don't mind adding about 30 extra pounds will set you right on this absolutely stacked lineup. Dragon's Fury for about £12. This is my absolute favourite video game pinball title. and the demonic table and punch-in rock and metal soundtrack just make it. This is a Tengen port of the highly acclaimed Devil's Crush game from the PC Engine. Desert Strike. Now, I don't actually have any nostalgia for this game, but I tell you, at £8 then I feel that most will want this in their collection. An isometric Gulf War helicopter shoot 'em up game inspired by Choplifter. This game was hugely popular at the time, and I bet there are plenty of you out there who would enjoy and want this game in the collection. NHL hockey. Anything after the highly sought after 94 will set you back about £10. Now, although I have so much nostalgia for NHL 94 for the Mega Drive, it seems that many more collectors or Mega Drive enthusiasts feel the same way, making that the most expensive game out of these classic EA Sports titles. I'll tell you what though, there is absolutely nothing wrong with all the other games in this series, especially after 94, because that was the first but not the last to have the one-timer hockey move, which makes you feel like king of the ice when you pull it off in two-player head-to-head. Coming from someone who has zero clue about ice hockey the sport, I can really enjoy these competitive multiplayer video games. Highly enjoyable stuff. So there you have it. I hope you've really enjoyed this episode and that it gives you some sort of sense of some absolutely quality games that can still be picked up for a reasonable price for the system. With between £100 or £130 down, you can really set off your collection right. And even if you're not looking to collect for the Sega Mega Drive, then I can't recommend highly enough one of the compilation discs that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Such good value. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Much love. Please look after yourselves and each other and get your geek on with Jig Retro.